Hi, I'm Anna. Welcome back. Today I'm going to give you book recommendations based on the Taylor Swift Eras Tour set list. Some of these I feel like are pretty on point. Some of these, there's a little bit of a stretch. I am not specifically sold on one genre of book, so I definitely read not just one type of book. So there are quite a few interesting recommendations in here. Obviously, if you don't want to know the set list for the Eras Tour, skip on past this video. But I am filming this before Arlington Night 3, so there may need to be a caveat added at the end if she decides to change the set list again, because we know she changed the set list. She's in her little Trixie era, and so I am including the one set list change that there has been in this list. So let's get started. The opener, Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, one of my favorite songs. I would think honestly of the Crave series, not just the first book, because I feel like you definitely get Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince vibes in book one of Crave. The line that I think of is, "It's you and me, that's my whole world. They whisper in the hallway, she's a bad, bad girl." Obviously, there are rumors in the first book. There is a shift in love interest in later books, but I still feel like they are the couple that is rumored about. They have everyone's attention. You still get the heartbreaker attitude for a good amount of the book. And I like the idea of Miss Americana being Grace because of her status in all of the books, really as someone who's very unique and almost put on a pedestal of sorts. So I would definitely recommend the Crave series if you're into Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince. For Cruel Summer, we have Sabrina September is a Liar. What I thought about with this is when in Cruel Summer we see in the bridge, said I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. There's a lot of secrets in this book. There's a lot of twists and turns, and I definitely feel like the idea of having a cruel summer where you have such highs and lows goes really well with this book. It is a contemporary romance, some spicy scenes. You jump back and forth between 10 years. I still get summertime vibes, even though I don't think everything is necessarily set in the summer, but I definitely enjoyed reading this book in connection with Cruel Summer. For The Man, we have 100 Other Girls. This is just a contemporary book about a girl trying to make her way through the world. She doesn't really, wish she was a man or anything, but I think in terms of the power dynamics in this book, it goes really well with the idea in The Man of, I'd be a fearless leader, I'd be an alpha type. When everyone believes you, what's that like? Because she does have to play in the workplace politics a lot in this book. And I feel like once Noor is more fully realized by the end of the book, she really empowers that fearless leader type and everything like that. So I really like the connection between The Man and this book. For You Need to Calm Down, I feel like there are quite a lot of books that can fall under this category, but the best one that I thought fit was Felix Ever After, which is a YA book following a trans boy who gets harassed and how he overcomes his harasser. So of course the lines of, you just need to take several seats and try to restore the peace and control your urges to scream about all the people you hate, because shade never made anybody less gay. And I like, obviously, having representation in this song matches, I feel like, all of the representation you get in this book. And this book explores identity a lot deeper than I think You Need to Calm Down does. But I feel like there's still a lot of connections that can be drawn between the two. And I feel like this book is definitely YA upbeat vibes, similar to You Need to Calm Down. While both have the upbeat vibe, they still have serious messages as well. Now, this is a book that has a playlist, and on the playlist for Before I Let Go, there is Lover, the Shawn Mendes remix. I still think this could fit with Lover, the original, without anybody added onto it, especially with the lines of, I'm highly suspicious that everyone who sees you wants you. I've loved you 3 summers now, honey, but I want them all. This starts out, I feel like, as a sadder book and you go through a lot of emotions, but that theme of love and acceptance and whatnot is a really big message throughout this book. And overall, there are so many sweet moments, that you just kind of blush during and smile. And I feel like you do the same thing when listening to Lover. Lover was my first dance song at my wedding, and I feel like it also fits the vibes of this book really well. Okay, so this, I think, is a little bit of an interesting one. I'm connecting the Unhoneymooners to The Archer. The Archer is a little bit slower paced of a song, a little more mysterious. This book is fast paced, so that doesn't exactly match, but there's a lot of anxieties and tensions in this book that are addressed, and I feel like it's similar to the anxiety that The Archer really talks about, especially the lines with, I wake in the night, I pace like a ghost, The room is on fire, invisible smoke, and all of my heroes die all alone. Help me hold on to you. And so I feel like it's that wanting, scared of anxiety, scared of changing yourself. This book does follow Olive, whose twin was supposed to go on a honeymoon. Her twin gets sick and can't, so Olive is going in her place with her nemesis Ethan. So the anxiety of going on a trip, exploring their relationship, trying to get past all of Olive's past relationships and her past anxieties to help her hold on to Ethan, I feel like is a general message that goes along with the Archer for this book. Fearless, I would definitely connect to The Wedding Date. I loved all of Jasmine Guillory's books, and I don't know if she has playlists, but I feel like Fearless is a good one for The Wedding Date because it's the first book in this whole universe that Jasmine creates. I feel like the couple really embodies the lines in Fearless of, and I don't know why, but with you I dance in a storm in my best dress, fearless. And we see Alexa's own growth in the relationship. She faces a lot of her own self-doubt, and she has to really come into herself into the relationship and be more fearless, especially with how the two meet in an elevator that's accidentally shut down during a power outage. And so it's definitely a situation where, at least for me, talking to somebody on an elevator, if you could do that, I think you're fearless. So that's where the connection starts. But as the song Fearless also is a little bit deeper, I feel like there's a lot of depth to The Wedding Date too. For You Belong With Me, we have By the Book. I feel like You Belong With Me is just an upbeat song. This is based off The Beauty and the Beast, and I feel like there are generally upbeat vibes while trying to explore how Beau's past insecurities really affect him. And I feel like in You Belong With Me, there's also that exploration of insecurities with wanting to be with the one you're with. The main line that I feel like connects these two is, if you could see that I'm the one who understands you, been here all along, so why can't you see you belong with me? Because I feel like that really almost summarizes this book, where I felt like it was obvious they should be together. I think they both had that feeling, but of course there are troubles in between the two. So I feel like this definitely meets those vibes. This is also very Disney oriented, and I feel like You Belong With Me can be a cute little Disney song too. For love story, I feel like I have to go with 1,000 Boy Kisses. I feel like the idea of taking the Romeo and Juliet story into the pop song of love story was really interesting for Taylor to do. You still have that star-crossed lovers feel that Romeo and Juliet does, but with 1,000 Boy Kisses, it gets tragic, and I cried a lot during this book. The main lines that I connected it to was Romeo. The guy's name is also Ruin in the book, so the two R names I just thought was a fun connection. But Romeo, take me somewhere we can be alone. I'll be waiting. All they're left to do is run. You'll be the prince and I'll be the princess. It's a love story, baby. Just say yes. I feel like that encapsulates this kind of second chance romance. Don't read the epilogue of this book though, because I just would not. I feel like 'Tis the Damn Season and Love and Other Words, the vibes definitely match. Both are mysterious. They have more of a slower pace and you're constantly wondering what's going to happen. I feel like in both the song and this book, I feel like the line that connects Love and Other Words with 'Tis the Damn Season for me are, time flies, messy as the mud on your truck tires. Now I'm missing your smile, hear me out. We could just ride around and the road not taken looks real good now. Especially if you read this book, I feel like the connection to cars is really important. This gives me, again, that second chance vibes, which this is a big second chance book. So I feel like overall this matches 'Tis the Damn Season. I don't know if this takes place necessarily in the fall, because I always think of 'Tis the Damn Season as a fall song, but maybe. So this is the connection that inspired this video, is Willow connecting to the X-Hex, because the X-Hex has witchy vibes. Willow, obviously on tour, if you've seen any of the videos, and the music video has witchy vibes. So those connect. For the lyrics, I thought of, wherever you stray, I'll follow. I'm begging you to take my hand. Wreck my plans, that's my man. I feel like the connection that is developed in the X-Hex is very much the same that is talked about in Willow. And like I said, you get those spooky October vibes with both. I feel like Marjorie connects to a big aspect of Legendborn. Obviously not every aspect, because Legendborn has a lot of high action. Marjorie is a very slow paced personal song, but I feel like Marjorie deals a lot with grief and exploring that grief of losing someone. The exploration of grief is done so well in this book. And I feel like you could also eventually connect it to Bloodmark, but I feel like Legendborn does a better job connecting to Marjorie, just because, Bree is still trying to come to grasp with her mother's death and trying to figure out the meaning behind it. So the lines that connect for me were, and if I did know better, I think you were listening to me now. If I didn't know better, I think you were still around. So I feel like, especially when you get into Bloodmark, those lines can also resonate. Bree can, still thinks of her mother, feels her presence on the campus and whatnot. And again, handling grief and that exploration, I feel like connects the two really well. Champagne Problems and Allegiant are connected. I know this is a little farther off the path because Allegiant is the last of a dystopian trilogy. And no, I'm not connecting Champagne Problems to the first two. It's just Allegiant that Champagne Problem connects to. The line that made me think of this is, you had a speech, you're speechless, love slipped beyond your reaches. And because Champagne Problems is looking at the guy's perspective, we do get Four's perspective in this book. So I feel like that's one connection. And then the love slipped beyond your reaches, if you read this book, I feel like you know what I'm talking about. And I feel like you will also connect Champagne Problems to Tris and Four because of that. Tolerate It and It Ends With Us, for me, connect, because especially once, we get to the main conflicts in the book, the lines that would replay for me in Tolerate It as I read It Ends With Us was, use my best colors for your portrait, lay the table with the fancy shit, and watch you tolerate it. I feel like there are definitely expectations in this book. I think this book handles serious subject matter, and I think Tolerate It does too, without being as explicit as It Ends With Us. Both have those darker vibes. Obviously there's a more hopeful ending message with It Ends With Us than Tolerate It, but I think the overall seriousness of handling the topic matter and whatnot connects these two books for me. Ready For It, I instantly think of The Last Storm. It has those fated mates, and I feel like Ready For It also has those fated mate vibes. Ready For It is darker, a little heavier punches, action and whatnot that at least I associate with it. The Last Storm has a bunch of action scenes as well as a lot of love put in, and I feel like that matches with Ready For It. The lines for me that connected to was, I see how this is going to go, touch me and you'll never be alone. Again, the idea of fated mates, the idea of touch, connecting people, and again, just the darker tones of both of The Last Storm and Ready For It, I feel like mash these two up pretty well. I feel like I'm not reaching as much with that one. For Delicate, I thought of People We Meet on Vacation. The line for this is, this ain't for the best, my reputation's never been worse, so you must like me for me. I feel like, the relationship that starts out in this book is very tenuous, it's delicate. The girl doesn't really look in the best light, I guess, just because there's a lot of negativity that she's trying to address, and there's this constant hinting to what happened 2 years ago, and you think that they did something absolutely terrible, and that's why, she's not doing the best right now, and brings him back for one final vacation. And again, since Delicate is a love song, and this eventually, turns into a love story, I feel like these two connect pretty well. Don't Blame Me and A Touch of Darkness, the heavy, wanting of someone, the darker vibes of Don't Blame Me mixed with obviously a Hades and Persephone retelling. The line for me was, don't blame me, love made me crazy, if it doesn't, you ain't doing it right. Lord save me, my drug is my baby, I'll be using for the rest of my life. I feel like this really embodies the possessiveness that Hades has over Persephone, and where whatever he does, as long as he gets her, it doesn't matter to him. And I feel like it's almost, Don't Blame Me, I associate more with Hades than Persephone. I know Persephone also does some, crazy stuff in the book for Hades, but I definitely feel like Don't Blame Me would be a song that Hades would definitely bop to. For Look What You Made Me Do, the new release of Burying Eva Flores, I feel like is just up this vibe. Sophia does not like Ava at all. She wants revenge on her. I feel like Look What You Made Me Do is a big revenge song. The lines here for me are, I don't like your little games, don't like your tilted stage, the role you made me play of a fool, no I don't like you, especially because Ava has such a big social media presence that she's blasting Sophia on. Sophia, of course, is like, well, I don't like you, you're making me look really bad on social media, and now I'm going to get you back. And I feel like those two match up really well. For Enchanted, which I am so excited to see Enchanted live, I feel like If the Shoe Fits, which is a Cinderella retelling, goes really well with Enchanted. because the two main characters have a little meet cute and she can't stop thinking about him, and they end up meeting again on this reality show. And I feel like that goes really well with the playful conversation starts, counter all your quick remarks, like passing notes in secrecy, and it was enchanting to meet you. All I can say is I was enchanted to meet you. And I feel like, again, going with the fairy tale vibes of a Cinderella retelling, the love story that comes out of it, hoping he's not in love with somebody else, especially when they're put on a Bachelor-style reality TV show. I feel like these two songs would fit really well. And I could see Enchanted being like a little instrumental for the reality TV show. And if the shoe fits, I could definitely see the producer doing that. Now I'm gonna need y'all to hold on with me for some of these Red songs, because I think these are definitely some of the farthest connections, and same thing with the 1989 songs. I feel like these were the two where I haven't read books that have exactly matched up with a lot of the songs. So for 22, we're going with Daisy Hates. 22 is a bop of a song, super fun, talking about, you know, coming of age, exploring yourself. She says, at least for me, where I connected it to this book was, you don't know about me, but I bet you want to. Everything will be all right if we just keep dancing like we're 22. Daisy definitely wants to live more of a carefree life. Christian definitely wants to get to know Daisy in this book. So even though there are some darker twists and turns in this book, I feel like, especially the beginning parts, can match up with 22. Daisy is only 20, she's not 22, but we're close enough in my opinion. I'm not talking about this one much. Red Queen and We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. The line, we are never ever getting back together. Read the book and I think you'll understand. So while focusing on Daisy and Christian in 22, I feel like Daisy Hates the Great Undoing goes really well with I Knew You Were Trouble, but from Julian's perspective. So there are three perspectives in both of the books, and with 22, I feel like that's more of Daisy and Christian's story in the first book. I Knew You Were Trouble, I feel like, is Julian's perspective because of the relationship that he gets into this book. And the lines that made me think of that was, once upon a time, a few mistakes ago, I was in your sights, you got me alone, you found me. And I feel like that definitely goes along with the vibe of the relationship that Julian has in this book. All Too Well 10-minute version, I think, is the raw song that Taylor has. It's the most vulnerable she's been, and I feel like the most vulnerable book that I've read this year is The Mirror Season. The Mirror Season does deal with sexual assault, so be aware of that. I feel like the lines that I connected to are, down the stairs, I was there, I remember it all too well. The Mirror Season doesn't have to do with the main character being in a relationship, while All Too Well, the 10-minute version, does. But I still think there's the connections of, you know, not being treated as you should be, feeling like you're the problem in a lot of these situations. And I feel like a lot of the same ideas of trying to accept yourself and rebuild yourself in All Too Well 10-minute version are also in the Mirror Season. Definitely check the content warnings before reading the Mirror Season. For Invisible String, we have Divine Rivals. I think this is a really fun connection because the rivals in this book connect with like magical letters that they send between wardrobes that in my mind are tied with an invisible string, just like the song. And the line for me is, time, curious time, gave me no compasses, gave me no signs. Were there clues I didn't see? Because one of the pen pals knows who the other person is, but the other person has no idea who their pen pal is. So trying to look back and see, did I know this connection was going to happen? And then again, ultimately falling in love and having that relationship tie them together with an invisible string. So I am so excited about this book to have Invisible String connected to it, because that was the song I walked down the aisle to when I got married. There is no better book that connects to the one for me than Eleanor and Park. This book tore me apart, especially at the end. And the one is a song I feel like that also can cut deep. The line that I feel like connects the two is, and if my wishes came true, it would have been you. In my defense, I have none for never leaving well enough alone, but it would have been fun if you would have been the one. Because I feel like Eleanor and Park, their relationship and how it grows definitely encompasses the love that is in the one. But again, because the one is all about a missed opportunity, I feel like Eleanor and Park also has that missed opportunity vibe. No second chances here. I wish there was. But I feel like those two connect really well. And Eleanor and Park was the first book I listened to when I finally started getting into Libby. So I like that this was the first book and the song is called The One, One and One. Just another fun connection. So Betty, we know, is told from the perspective of a guy. and every summer after is told from the perspective of a girl. I still feel like Persephone in this book and James and Betty are almost like the same. For Betty, the line for me that connects the two is, you can't believe a word she says most times, but this time it was true. The worst thing that I ever did was what I did to you. And it's all about trying to, again, build James's and Betty's relationship back up. Persephone trying to figure out how she feels about Sam, the second chances that are in here. I feel like that is an instant connection between the two. And I feel like Betty has this like light, bright vibe. And a lot of the flashbacks in this book, I feel like create that same light, bright summer vibe because, again, every summer after. So I feel like in general, the ambiance of the two really match up. The last Great American Dynasty, I think, was the hardest song to find a connection to just because I haven't really read a historical nonfiction or historical fiction book related to this, but I'm choosing Circe. The main line that connect the two for me is she had a marvelous time ruining everything. And I feel like Circe is on a very big path of vengeance. Circe lives on an island. We're talking about more of the isolation that Rebecca faces moving in the last Great American Dynasty. And eventually it's all about these more powerful women in history. At least I feel like that's the vibe of this. And I feel like Circe definitely has that power. Talk a little bit about Rebecca Harkness's and Taylor's own power by owning the house. I feel like that's how the two are connected. Again, that's one where we have to, you just gotta trust me on this one. For August, this is actually my latest read, and the first book I finished in April was The No-Show. The main line that connected this for me was, but I can see us lost in the memory. August slipped away in a moment of time because it was never mine. And we're exploring the relationship that Joseph Carter has with 3 different women in this book. And I think it's interesting how the women feel about Joseph and how Joseph feels about the women. And I feel like both can really connect to August in that sense where time is slipping away, feeling like there's this short little period of bliss, but not really sure about it. And so I feel like August can really connect to The No-Show. And even though there's like, again, some upbeat, there's a sadder meaning to the song. And I feel like The No-Show follows that same deal where it's marketed as a romantic comedy. I didn't think this book was funny. I thought this book was sad. So, but that's just me. For illicit affairs, I'm going with The Perfect Marriage. Don't call me kid. Don't call me baby. Look at this godforsaken mess that you made me. The Perfect Marriage definitely gets messy. Definitely has affairs involved in it. And I know with at least Taylor's version, it's all about like, we had this affair and you changed me in such a great way. The Perfect Marriage doesn't exactly follow that, but I think there's elements. If we heard more from Kelly's side in The Perfect Marriage, I feel like we definitely would have gotten more illicit affairs vibes from this book. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. My Tears Ricochet and The Realm Breaker, both of the books, I feel like can connect to this. The big line for this is, and I can go anywhere I want, just not home, and you can aim for my heart, go for blood, but you would still miss me in your bones. And I feel like, especially with Coraine and her journey through this story, I feel like it fits with My Tears Ricochet perfectly because she's rediscovering herself after life-altering news and trying to explore what that means. There's this, bigger, badder man that's trying to hurt her, but is also related to her. And so trying to come to grips with that, I feel like does resonate with My Tears Ricochet, especially because I feel like Coraine goes through a lot of emotions in this book, just like Taylor put into this. So I feel like those connect. I feel like the brooding, the tension also fits with this high fantasy action series. Even the mood that is set, I feel like can match with this. And I'm really excited for the third one, but I don't know if the vibes will match. For Cardigan, I'm going with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The lines for me were, and when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. Who Evelyn eventually goes back to and has, I think, the truest relationship relates to Evelyn having 7 husbands and, every time she was down, going back to her usual cardigan of a person. So I think those can align pretty well. I'm interested to see if the on-screen version of this would also match with the cardigan vibes. Because again, I don't feel like this is the happiest story. Like there's definitely a lot of sadness and missed opportunities in here. And I feel like Cardigan can give you those same vibes. For style, I feel like there is no better book than the first Magnolia Parks books. The line for me is, you got that long hair, slit back, white t-shirt, and I got that good girl Faith with a tight little skirt. And when we go crashing down, we come back every time because we never go out of style. We never go out of style. This is definitely back and forth between Magnolia and BJ Ballantyne. Magnolia definitely is like the it girl of London. BJ is that Instagram model player type as well. And it talks about their on again, off again relationships. I feel like Style has, again, the upbeat vibes with the serious undertones. I feel like you get that a lot in this book as well. So for Blank Space, I decided on the Book Lovers because it talks about how hard Nora is in the beginning, like how tough she is as a person, how serious she is, everything like that. And then she meets Charlie and, you know, she has a bunch of warnings, but she has this blank space. She's going to write his name. So getting into the line that connects the two, in my opinion, is got a long list of ex-lovers. They'll tell you I'm insane, but I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name. I don't know how many exes Nora has had, so I don't, you know, the long list, but I do think Nora's ex would not talk the nicest about her to Charlie, just based off what we get at the beginning of the book. So I feel like that connection is there. And then again, Nora being like, you're getting a lot if we were, you know, to be in a relationship together and whatnot. And I think this connects really well with that. I know Emily Henry has her own connections with Taylor Swift songs in the books. I'm just trying to make them all fit. And this was one I felt like fit with Blank Space. I think this is the funnest connection for me. We have Percy Jackson and Shake It Off. The lines for me was, but I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be all right. I never miss a beat. I'm lightning on my feet, and that's what they don't see. I feel like this can embody Percy because he's, you know, thrown into a new world. He has to keep moving forward. He has to, you know, kind of shake off his past and try to save Camp Half-Blood. And so I feel like that connects definitely with The Lightning Thief. I think the other two books as well. I haven't read the last two in the series yet, and I know the 6th is coming, but I feel like Percy just has a kind of fun, dancey, upbeat vibes, even when there's a lot of serious situations going on in front of him. So for Wildest Dreams, for me, the pining of somebody and everything really goes with Strange the Dreamer and Muse the Nightmares. For me, both of those books, I feel like you can't just assign this song to one of those because the perspective switches of whose wildest dream it is, but I feel like the song still applies to both. The biggest line that connects them for me is, say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe, red lips and rosy cheeks, say you'll see me again, even if it's in your wildest dreams. Because again, we have Laszlo trying to figure out about these gods that he keeps having dreams about. And then once, you know, him and the gods interact, he's in a new role. I don't know, I just get those like fantastical vibes from the songs. This is definitely a higher fantasy series, and the two just work in my mind. I know Strange the Dreamer and Wildest Dreams. I swear it's not just because of the titles. I didn't want to pull out all 10 books for this, but to me, the Pendragon series can go with the song Bad Blood. I specifically pulled The City of Far because I feel like this has the pinnacle moment where Bobby says, you know what, Saint Dane, Master Villain, like, I'm coming for you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to protect all of these worlds. Watch your back. The line that connects this for me was, did you have to ruin what was shining? Now it's all rusted. Did you have to hit me where I'm weak, baby? I couldn't breathe. And rub it in so deep, salt in the wound, like you're laughing right at me. So again, those Bad Blood vibes between Bobby and Saint Dane, so our protagonist and antagonist, I feel like it's embodied during the majority of these books. But I feel like the plot point in this book 2, City of Far, takes Bobby from just a kid doing what he's told to now he has his own purpose to continue to fight in this war. For Lavender Haze, we have the proposal. The line for me here is, I feel the lavender haze creeping up on me. Surreal, I'm damned if I do give a damn what people say. No deal, that 1950s shit they want from me. I just want to stay in that lavender haze. I think because there is this event that happens in the proposal with Nikki where, you know, she goes viral and all these people are saying all these things about her with all these expectations and whatnot that she sets for herself. So I feel like Nikki's journey really embodies the lavender haze that she eventually enters with Carlos. Now I need you to hold on for this one because I'm going to connect this to the song and then I'm just going to need you to listen to my explanation. We have Anti-Hero with red, white, and royal blue. The line is, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. because I feel like Alex is his worst enemy, yet you are rooting for him eventually, right? To realize himself, get into a better situation, everything like that. So I feel like this goes really well with anti-hero. And I specifically think of Alex when I think of this song because, again, he is like the main character of the story. But you know what? He's like not the best hero figure. He makes a lot of mistakes, but you still find yourself rooting for him in this book. And I feel like the expectations that he has as a first son and the expectation Taylor faces and whatnot, I think you can also draw similarities between those two. For Midnight Rain, I have May the Best Man Win. I feel like this definitely fits with Jeremy exploring his transition and his relationship with Lucas. The line for me was, he wanted comfortable, he being Lucas. I wanted that pain. He wanted a bride. I was making my own name. I feel like that particular like 2-sentence part goes with when Jeremy breaks up with Lucas so Jeremy can transition into their true self. Going back to the line, chasing that fame, he stayed the same. All of me changed like Midnight Rain. So again, Jeremy openly transitioning, going through that. Lucas has autism and really likes his routines and his expectations for himself and the path that he lays out. And so I feel like those two could really connect with Midnight Rain in that sense. Because I know with obviously Taylor, we're talking about her relationship with somebody, but I think this could be applied to the relationship that Jeremy and Lucas has. For Vigilante Shift, we have the Housemaid duology. I think it's more so the Housemaid's secret. I think you can still connect it to the Housemaid, but definitely the Housemaid's secret because I feel like since this is the second book, we know more about the intentions of the characters, and I feel like that goes along with vigilante shit, especially the lines, draw the cat eye sharp enough to kill a man, you did some bad things, but I'm the worst of them. I definitely feel like that embodies Millie. I could see her playing that in her headphones on her way to, you know, one of her appointments at a richer household that she works at. Would that be the most appropriate thing for her to do? No. I hope she would blast vigilante shit, especially in this book. I would hope she would blast it, but again, I still feel like it's applicable to both of these. The high tension, the mystery is both in the song and the books. I feel like Bejeweled really goes well with the selection and potentially the whole series too, but I see a lot of parallels in this first book because it's when Maxon is first recognizing America and her trying to separate herself, especially being one of the lower classes that makes it further in the rounds. So for the lyrics that connect the two, we have best believe I'm still bejeweled. When I walk in the room, I can make the whole place shimmer. Even later on when, you know, meet the band, there's not necessarily a band, but, and they ask if you have a man, I can still say I don't remember. So her other relationship with Aspen, trying to forget about that while she's in the house with Maxon, trying to explore what's best for her because it's all about how she wants to polish up real nice and trying to make the best life for her family. So I feel like the selection definitely has the glitz and the glam that Bejeweled has in the song. For Mastermind, I feel like Shara Wheeler definitely fits with this. The mystery of trying to find Shara Wheeler, the three folks that all get involved to try to find her, and eventually who ends up with Shara Wheeler, I feel like definitely fits with Mastermind. So for the lines that connect to two, it's what if I told you I'm a mastermind and now you're mine? It was all by design because I'm a mastermind. I definitely feel like Mastermind is Shara Wheeler's song. I can't see anybody else who it fits better with. Lastly, we have Karma. The vibes in this book do not match the vibes in Karma, like in terms of that upbeat poppy style. No. But I feel like there are lines that can connect to this. Specifically, we have, because Karma is my boyfriend. We love Robbie. Karma's a god. Karma's the breeze in my hair on the weekend. Karma's a relaxing thought. Aren't you envious that for you it's not? Because someone in this book really gets a big handful of karma in this book. Multiple people do. So I feel like this is a really good book that just embodies that, you know, Pippa is really delivering this karma to folks that have had it coming for quite a while. So those are the books that I would recommend and connect to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour set list. I do plan to do this with the surprise songs once we have all of those at the end of August. And then we'll see. I want to try to be just like Taylor and not reuse any books in that video. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you have your own connections. And I'm excited to see potentially what other set list changes are addressed, because then I would definitely make a separate video too, just talking about the set list and book changes, because I love connecting books to Taylor Swift.